Most people believe their life is shaped by luck, by other people, by money, by circumstances they cannot control. But look closely at your own days. The moments you regret were not caused by fate. They were caused by what you said, what you reacted to, what you chased, and what you could not control inside. It was never the world. It was the untrained mind, the loose mouth, the restless mood, the anxious relationship with money. One ancient truth explains everything. Whatever you do not govern within will eventually govern you from outside. Your thoughts become words. Your words become reactions. Your reactions become habits. Your habits decide your peace, your power, and your future. Control it, and life begins to cooperate. Ignore it, and life keeps correcting you through pain. In this teaching, we will strip away illusion, not with force, not with motivation, but with clarity. And when you leave, you will not feel inspired. You will feel centered, restrained, and internally commanded. And there is a powerful bonus lesson waiting at the end. Before we begin, subscribe to Deep Wisdom, where every video is a doorway to calm, clarity, and timeless Buddhist insight you won't find anywhere else. 1. The mind that wanders leaks power. The Buddha warned that suffering does not begin with the world outside. It begins with a mind that refuses to stay. A wandering mind looks harmless, even intelligent, yet it quietly spends your life without asking permission. Thoughts jump from regret to desire, from fear to fantasy, and before you realize it, the present moment is gone. Ask yourself gently, if your mind is never here, how can peace ever arrive? An untrained mind is like a cracked pot. You can pour in wisdom, motivation, even spiritual teachings, but it leaks away through distraction, comparison, and constant inner noise. This is why intelligent people still destroy their own peace. Knowledge enters, but attention escapes. As one teaching reminds us, a scattered mind cannot protect what it loves. What you cannot focus on, you slowly lose. Close your eyes. Notice how the mind jumps without permission. Do not stop it, just watch. See how quickly it moves? This is not a flaw, it is a habit, and habits shape destiny. When the mind wanders, the mouth follows, speaking too fast, too sharp, too much. Money follows, spent unconsciously, driven by impulse instead of clarity. Mood follows, rising and falling based on thoughts that were never questioned. A weak focus creates a weak center, and life begins to control you instead. The Buddha never asked people to fight the mind. He asked them to train it. Begin with one small discipline. Keep the mind where the body is. When eating, only eat. When listening, only listen. When working, work with full presence. Each time you return, power returns with you. Attention is not just awareness, it is self-respect. Notice where your attention leaks most each day. Is it scrolling, worrying, replaying old conversations, chasing approval? Wherever attention goes, energy follows, and wherever energy flows repeatedly, character is formed. This is the hard truth. An unfocused mind cannot build wealth, cannot hold calm speech, cannot maintain emotional balance. Here is the turning point few speak about. Controlling the mind is not about force, it is about intimacy. Sit with it, watch it, learn its patterns like you would learn the habits of a restless child. Slowly, the mind begins to trust you. And when the mind is steady, the mouth becomes gentle, money becomes intentional, and mood becomes stable. Ask yourself tonight, where does my attention truly live? What happens to my words, finances, and emotions when focus is weak? And most importantly, What would change if your mind stayed where your body already is? Remember this line and carry it quietly. Life does not respond to your wishes, it responds to what you control. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "I govern myself." 2. Words spend energy you cannot recover. Speech feels light, almost innocent, yet it quietly drains what the mind struggles to gather. The Buddha observed that most exhaustion is not from work, but from unnecessary words. We speak to release pressure, to feel heard, to escape silence, and for a moment, it feels relieving. But notice what follows. The body feels lighter, yet the center feels weaker. Why does talking calm the moment but steal strength from the future? Words are not free. Every sentence is a withdrawal from presence. When speech is careless, energy leaks through the mouth before wisdom can shape it. What is unnecessary is never harmless. This is not moral judgment. It is physics. Attention condenses power. Speech disperses it. When words multiply, focus fragments. Words are arrows. Once released, they never return to the quiver. You cannot call them back. You cannot soften their landing. You can only watch where they strike. Relationships, reputation, inner peace. Many lives are shaped not by actions, but by sentences spoken during moments of unguarded emotion. Imagine every sentence costing a coin of energy. Notice how quickly the purse empties. This is why silence often feels heavy at first. Silence forces you to sit with what words usually hide: restlessness, anger, insecurity, the need to be validated. Speaking discharges emotion, but it does not heal it. Silence contains emotion, and containment is strength. When you pause before speaking, the mind regains command. Observe your own patterns. Which words in your life cost you the most? Is it explaining yourself too much? Defending what does not need defense? Speaking when listening would preserve peace? Often we speak not to be understood, but to unload emotion. And in doing so, we hand our power away. The Buddha taught restraint not as suppression, but as protection. When speech is disciplined, the mind sharpens. When the mouth is calm, money decisions become clearer. Emotional reactions soften. A controlled tongue creates a stable mood. Silence becomes a savings account for inner strength. Here is the reversal few expect. Silence is not emptiness, it is leverage. In silence, you hear intention before impulse. You sense truth before opinion. You respond instead of react. Each moment you choose not to speak unnecessarily, energy returns to the body like breath after a long run. Practice this tonight. Before speaking, ask one question: is this necessary, or is this emotional discharge? If it is not necessary, let silence hold it. Feel the discomfort. That discomfort is power returning to you. Ask yourself quietly, do I speak to connect or to escape myself? What power would silence return to me if I trusted it? Remember this truth and let it settle deeply. What you do not say often protects more than what you explain. 3. Silence is not absence, it is containment. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness, yet the Buddha saw it as strength in its most refined form. The world rewards explanation, justification, constant expression. But notice carefully, the most powerful people explain the least. They do not rush to fill space, they let space shape them. Ask yourself quietly, why does stillness feel threatening while noise feels safe? Silence is not absence, it is containment. Still water reflects the moon. When the surface is calm, truth becomes visible. When words stop rushing outward, Awareness gathers inward. This is why silence feels heavy at first. It presses inward instead of outward. It reveals what movement usually hides. Silence is a sealed vessel. Nothing leaks. Everything matures. When you speak too quickly, energy escapes before it ripens. When you stay quiet, intention ferments into clarity. Many people mistake silence for passivity, but in reality, it is active restraint. It is the strength to hold instead of spill. Sit quietly. Feel how silence presses inward instead of outward. Notice the urge to break it. That urge is important. It shows you where attachment lives. We speak to relieve discomfort, to escape uncertainty, to dissolve tension, to prove existence. But every time you break silence too quickly, you trade authority for relief. Relief is temporary. Authority compounds. Observe your life honestly. When do you interrupt silence the fastest? During conflict? When misunderstood? When feeling insignificant? Silence forces you to stay present with discomfort until it transforms. Speech postpones that transformation. This is why silence feels demanding. It asks you to grow instead of discharge. The Buddha taught that inner power is not loud. It is grounded. When silence becomes natural, the mind steadies. When the mind steadies, money decisions slow down and mature. Emotional reactions soften. Mood stops swinging with every external sound. Silence becomes the container that holds discipline together. Here is the hidden truth. Silence gathers authority because it signals self-trust. You no longer rush to be validated. You no longer fear being unseen. In silence, you listen more deeply, not only to others, but to yourself. And what you hear there is often the guidance you were seeking outside. Practice this restraint gently. The next time you feel the urge to explain, pause. Let silence sit between the impulse and the action. Feel the pressure. That pressure is not loss, it is power condensing. Over time, silence becomes familiar. Calm becomes stable. Presence becomes your natural state. Ask yourself with honesty, what discomfort am I escaping by talking? Who would I become if I stayed quiet a little longer? Remember this and let it echo softly. What you contain quietly shapes your future more than what you express loudly. 4. Emotion is a command, not a condition. Emotion rarely asks for permission. It arrives, rises, and begins issuing orders. The Buddha saw clearly that emotion is not a condition you suffer. It is a command you often obey without question. This is why logic loses so many battles. You know what is right, yet you act otherwise. Why do emotions dictate actions even when understanding is present? Emotion becomes law the moment it goes unobserved. The unobserved emotion becomes the decision. Anger spends words you cannot recover. Fear spends money you did not plan to lose. Desire borrows from the future and calls it happiness. Emotion does not negotiate, it moves. And if you move with it, it chooses your direction. Emotion is a horse. Without reins, it decides the destination. Many lives are not lived, they are ridden. One surge of jealousy shapes a relationship. One wave of fear shapes a career. One moment of excitement empties a savings account. The damage is rarely dramatic. It is slow, quiet, and repeated. Notice a feeling arise. Do not move with it. Let it pass through. This pause is the most difficult discipline. The body wants action. The mind wants relief. But the pause restores command. When you stop obeying emotion immediately, something unexpected happens. Clarity appears. The feeling weakens, not because it was suppressed, but because it was seen. Awareness loosens emotion's grip. Observe which emotion controls you most. Is it irritation that sharpens your tongue? Anxiety that tightens spending? Restlessness that sabotages focus? Emotion shapes money, words, and mood because it moves faster than thought. This is why the Buddha trained observation before behavior. You cannot control what you have not seen clearly. Here is the hidden cost few acknowledge. When emotion rules, responsibility disappears. You blame circumstances, people, timing. But when observation returns, ownership returns. You realize, I was not forced, I followed. And in that realization, power quietly comes back. Practice this daily in small moments. When emotion rises, delay action. Breathe. Let sensation pass without commentary. This is not emotional numbness. It is emotional leadership. Over time, emotions still arise, but they stop commanding. Mood stabilizes. Decisions slow down. Life becomes deliberate instead of reactive. Ask yourself honestly, which emotion has written most of your past decisions? How has it shaped your finances and relationships? And what would change if you paused just once before obeying it? Let this truth settle without resistance. You do not need to eliminate emotion. You need to stop letting it sign your life away. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, I govern myself. 5. Reactivity is the loss of inner rank. Reactivity feels like strength, but it is the quiet loss of inner rank. The Buddha observed that the moment you react, you step below the event. The world pulls the string, and you move. It feels urgent, even necessary, yet regret often follows close behind. Why does reacting feel so right in the moment, but so costly afterward? Reaction is speed without awareness. Speed without awareness is surrender. When the mind moves faster than understanding, you hand over command. Words escape before wisdom arrives. Money moves before clarity settles. Emotions flare before truth is seen. A reactive life is not chaotic, it is predictable. The same triggers, the same outcomes, repeated endlessly. A reactive mind is a bell. Any touch makes it ring. Other people's moods, opinions, and behaviors decide your inner state. You are no longer leading your life, you are responding to it. This is how inner rank is lost. Not through failure, but through constant surrender to impulse. Picture a pause between stimulus and response. Rest inside that gap. That gap is not empty, it is authority. In that small space, choice returns. When you delay even a breath, you rise above the event. The situation remains the same, but your position changes. You are no longer being acted upon, you are acting. This is where dignity lives. Notice who benefits when you react instantly. Is it the person provoking you, the impulse selling comfort, the emotion demanding discharge? Reaction serves everything except your long-term well-being. Patience, on the other hand, protects what cannot be repaired easily: reputation, finances, relationships, inner peace. The Buddha trained patience not as tolerance, but as strategy. When patience grows, the mouth becomes measured. Money decisions slow down, mood stops swinging with every trigger. You begin to choose responses that align with who you want to become, not how you feel for 10 seconds. Here is the reversal few expect. Reactivity feels alive, but it drains life. Patience feels heavy, but it builds power. Each delayed reaction strengthens self-command. Over time, fewer things can disturb you, not because you are numb, but because you are grounded. Practice this discipline gently. When triggered, do nothing at first. Breathe. Let the urge pass. Notice how the intensity fades when it is not fed. That fading is proof that reaction was never required, only habitual. Ask yourself honestly, what has instant reaction already cost me? What power returns when I delay? And what would patience save me from if I trusted it more? Let this truth remain with you. The one who can wait stands above whatever arrives. 6. Money mirrors the state of the mind. Money does not create chaos, it reveals it. The Buddha observed that finances are not separate from the mind that handles them. When the mind is restless, money becomes restless too. People often ask why emotional people struggle with money even when they earn enough. The answer is simple and uncomfortable. Money obeys the state of the one holding it. Financial disorder is rarely about numbers. It is about impulses, fear, and identity. What you cling to begins to control you. When money is used to soothe anxiety, to prove worth, or to escape discomfort, it slips away. Not because it is cursed, but because it is being asked to do the work of inner stability. Money is water. Cup it calmly, or it spills through grasping fingers. Grasping is not ambition, it is fear, pretending to be desire. Fear spends too fast, hoards too tightly, or freezes completely. Calm thinking, on the other hand, gives money direction. It slows decisions. It separates need from impulse. Feel your breath when thinking about money. Notice tension without judgment. That tension is the real issue. When money triggers tightness, urgency, or comparison, awareness has already left. Decisions made in that state rarely serve the future. The Buddha did not condemn wealth. He warned against unconscious attachment. Attachment makes money emotional. Emotion makes money unstable. Ask yourself honestly, do I chase money or do I manage energy? Exhausted minds overspend. Anxious minds underinvest. Distracted minds forget long-term consequences. A trained mind treats money as a tool, not a remedy. It does not ask money to fix moods or fill emptiness. Here is the turning point few expect. Financial discipline begins with emotional discipline. When mood stabilizes, spending stabilizes. When desires are observed, priorities become clear. Wealth grows quietly, not through force, but through consistency. Calm creates compounding. Practice this restraint gently. Before any financial decision, pause until the body softens. If the breath is rushed, wait. If the mind is loud, delay. Clarity always arrives after calm, not before. This pause protects you from decisions you would later justify but not respect. Notice what fear drives your financial behavior. Is it fear of being left behind? Fear of missing out? Fear of not being enough? Money cannot heal these fears, but calm observation can. When fear loosens, money stops controlling you. Ask yourself tonight, how does calm thinking change the way I earn, spend, and save? Who would I become if my finances reflected clarity instead of urgency? Let this truth remain steady within you. Wealth grows where the mind is settled, not where desire is loud. 7. Detachment is not neglect, it is mastery. Craving often disguises itself as motivation. It promises movement, progress, purpose. Yet the Buddha saw the cost clearly. What drives you can also drain you. Why does craving feel energizing in the beginning, but exhausting over time? Because it pulls life forward by tension, not balance. Detachment is not neglect, it is mastery. To hold lightly is to hold longest. When you stop needing outcomes to define you, effort becomes clean. You still act, but without desperation. You still care, but without fear choking every decision. This is not withdrawal from life. It is freedom within it. Clinging is like gripping a flame. The tighter you hold, the more it burns. Release does not destroy the fire, it protects the hand. Many suffer not because they lack effort, but because they attach their identity to results. Money must prove worth. Relationships must secure safety. Success must silence doubt. And the soul grows tired carrying these demands. Imagine loosening your grip without dropping responsibility. Feel the difference. Notice how the body softens when grip relaxes. Detachment creates space for clarity. When you are not desperate to gain or afraid to lose, decisions become precise. You stop chasing money emotionally and start managing it intelligently. You stop controlling people and start understanding them. Mood stabilizes because outcomes no longer threaten identity. Ask yourself honestly, where does attachment create fear in my life? Is it attachment to comfort, approval, status, certainty? Fear is not caused by loss. It is caused by the need to possess. When you believe you cannot live without something, anxiety becomes constant. The Buddha did not teach renunciation of action, but renunciation of clinging. Work fully, love deeply, but do not chain your peace to results. When effort is detached, consistency replaces burnout. When expectations loosen, disappointment loses power. Here is the quiet reversal. Detachment increases effectiveness. You see more clearly because fear is no longer steering. You recover faster because loss no longer defines you. You respond wisely because you are not protecting an image. This is mastery, not indifference. Practice this today in a small way. Do one task without craving praise. Make one decision without fearing loss. Hold one desire lightly. Notice how energy returns when tension leaves. Ask yourself gently, what am I afraid to lose? What identity am I protecting? And what becomes possible when I stop clinging and start choosing calmly? Let this truth remain with you as night falls. Freedom begins the moment need loosens its grip. 8. Discipline survives when motivation dies. Motivation arrives loudly and leaves quietly. The Buddha understood this pattern long before modern language named it. Progress collapses not because ability disappears, but because feelings fade. Why does effort stop the moment emotion withdraws? Because emotion was never meant to lead. Discipline survives when motivation dies. Consistency is calm strength. Motivation is weather. Discipline is climate. One changes daily, the other shapes the land. When life is built on feeling, stability is impossible. When life is built on structure, peace has somewhere to stand. Discipline is a riverbank. Without it, energy floods and destroys. Passion spills into distraction. Desire turns into exhaustion. Emotion burns bright, then disappears. Structure holds energy long enough for it to become progress. This is not harshness, it is protection. See yourself acting without emotional negotiation. Notice the quiet strength. This strength feels unfamiliar at first. There is no excitement, no drama, just action done calmly, repeatedly. The Buddha valued this quiet endurance. He knew that liberation is not achieved in moments of intensity, but in ordinary, disciplined days that do not announce themselves. Observe where you wait to feel ready. Readiness is often avoidance dressed as patience. Discipline removes this burden. When action is scheduled, the mind rests. When routine is stable, decisions disappear. Stress reduces not because life is easier, but because fewer choices drain the mind. Notice how discipline stabilizes money, words, and mood. You spend intentionally because habits decide, not impulse. You speak thoughtfully because restraint is practiced daily. Emotional swings soften because routine anchors the nervous system. Discipline does not fight chaos. It makes chaos irrelevant. Here is the hidden truth. Discipline is not control over life. It is kindness to the future self. Each small act done without negotiation saves energy you would otherwise spend debating, resisting, regretting. Structure frees attention for what matters. Practice this gently. Choose one small discipline and keep it unbroken. Not because you feel inspired, but because it is time. Let action become automatic. Over time, motivation returns. But now, it rests on something solid. Ask yourself with honesty, what would discipline remove from my daily stress? What peace would routine protect if I trusted it? And who would I become if I stopped waiting for feeling and started honoring structure? Let this truth remain steady within you. When emotion fades, discipline carries you forward. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "I govern myself." 9. Presence is the loudest form of power. Presence does not announce itself. It arrives quietly and changes the room. The Buddha understood that the deepest form of power is not force, but attention. Calm people are remembered not because they demand space, but because they inhabit it fully. Why are those who speak less and move slowly often the ones who leave the strongest impression? Presence is attention without escape. Those who are fully here need no announcement. When the mind stops wandering, authority gathers naturally. You do not need to prove yourself. You do not need to explain. Your stillness speaks before words appear. Presence is gravity. Nothing escapes its pull. When you are fully present, conversations slow down. Emotions soften. Even conflict loses its edge. This is why presence feels rare. It requires the mind, mouth, money, and mood to align in one direction. Fragmentation dissolves power. Unity restores it. Sit fully in your body. Feel how attention settles the room. Notice how the breath deepens when attention returns. This is not imagination. The nervous system responds to presence instantly. When you are grounded, others feel it. They listen differently. They trust more easily. Focus shapes how the world meets you. Ask yourself honestly, when are you physically present but mentally absent? In conversations, during work, with loved ones? Absence leaks through behavior. Half listening, rushed responses, distracted decisions. Presence repairs without effort. It does not rush. It does not seek control. It simply stays. The Buddha trained presence because it integrates everything. When attention is steady, words become intentional. Money is handled with care. Mood stabilizes because awareness is no longer scattered. Presence is not a technique. It is the result of discipline, silence, emotional observation, and detachment working together. Here is the quiet reversal. Presence requires no energy. It saves it. Distraction exhausts. Attention restores. When you stop splitting yourself across thoughts, fears, and expectations, life feels simpler. Not because problems vanish, but because you meet them whole. Practice this now, not later. When you enter a space, arrive completely. Feel your feet. Breathe. Listen without preparing a response. Speak only when clarity forms. Let attention do the work you used to force. Ask yourself gently, how does focus change the way others respond to me? What happens when I arrive fully instead of partially? Who would I become if presence became my default state? Let this final truth remain with you like a quiet bell at dusk. What you give your full attention to begins to organize itself around you. 10. Inner command ends inner conflict. Inner conflict is not a mystery. It is the result of a mind without command. The Buddha observed that most suffering does not come from pain, but from division. One part of you wants peace, another wants comfort, another wants approval, and the body lives in the tension between them. Why do so many people feel split inside, even when life looks stable outside? A divided mind is a house without leadership. A house without a leader collapses. When no inner authority is present, impulses compete for control. Desire argues with fear, discipline negotiates with comfort. The mind becomes a city without law, noise everywhere, peace nowhere. Inner command is not aggression, it is clarity. It is the quiet decision that one voice will lead. When command is absent, debate consumes energy. When command is present, movement becomes clean. This is why self-rule creates peace. The mind stops fighting itself. Imagine one calm voice inside giving direction. Let the others fall silent. Notice how the body responds to this image. The breath deepens, the shoulders soften. Authority inside does not tense the body, it stabilizes it. Confusion tightens, command relaxes. The Buddha trained this through steady attention, ethical restraint, and disciplined action. Not force, consistency. Ask yourself honestly, who leads your inner world right now? Is it mood, fear, habit, urgency? When emotions lead, life becomes unpredictable. When impulse leads, regret follows. But when awareness leads, choices align. Words become measured. Money becomes intentional. Mood steadies because decisions are no longer negotiated endlessly. Here is the turning point. Inner command does not silence emotion. It places it in context. Feelings are heard, but they do not decide. Thoughts are noticed, but they do not rule. This is not suppression, it is hierarchy. Peace emerges when the right things lead. Practice this daily in small moments. Decide once, then act. Do not reopen the decision with every mood. When the urge to debate arises, return to the chosen direction. This ends internal friction. Energy stops leaking into indecision. Notice how authority feels inside the body. It is not loud, it is grounded. It does not rush, it does not apologize. It stands. Over time, this inner leadership becomes familiar. You trust yourself again. Ask yourself tonight, what happens when I decide instead of debate? What would change if my life had one clear inner leader? Let this final truth settle deeply and without resistance. When you rule yourself, peace stops being a struggle and becomes your natural state. 11. Control is not force, it is clarity. Control becomes exhausting when it is confused with force. The Buddha understood that most struggle comes not from lack of effort, but from misunderstanding. People push, restrain, suppress, then wonder why peace feels heavy. Why does control feel so burdensome when it is misunderstood? Because force fights reality, while clarity understands it. True control begins with seeing. Understanding dissolves resistance. When you see a pattern clearly, you no longer wrestle with it. You stop arguing with yourself. The need to force disappears because confusion has ended. Struggle is simply resistance fueled by blindness. Clarity is light. Darkness does not need to be pushed away. It vanishes when light appears. In the same way, habits lose power when they are seen fully. Impulses soften when they are understood. Fear weakens when its root is revealed. Control is not about tightening grip. It is about removing illusion. Notice how awareness softens tension. Let understanding replace control. Feel the body respond when you stop forcing. Shoulders drop, breath slows. The nervous system recognizes safety. This is why clarity feels relieving, not oppressive. The Buddha taught observation because awareness corrects without violence. When you see clearly, you naturally act wisely. Ask yourself honestly, where are you forcing instead of seeing? Forcing discipline without understanding desire. Forcing silence without understanding fear. Forcing financial restraint without understanding insecurity. What you do not understand, you must constantly control. What you understand, you simply manage. Here is the quiet reversal. Clarity simplifies life. When truth is faced, decisions become fewer. Inner debates dissolve. Energy returns because it is no longer spent resisting reality. This is how the mind, mouth, money, and mood come into alignment, through insight, not pressure. The Buddha did not ask people to dominate themselves. He asked them to wake up. When awareness is sharp, behavior follows naturally. Speech becomes measured because you see its impact. Spending becomes intentional because you see its motivation. Mood steadies because you see emotions as movements, not commands. Practice this gently. When tension arises, pause and look. What is actually happening right now? Not what you fear, not what you assume, just what is. Stay with it without correction. Understanding will emerge on its own. Ask yourself tonight, what truth am I avoiding because it feels uncomfortable? What would simplify if I allowed myself to see clearly instead of control aggressively? Let this truth remain with you like a candle in the dark. When clarity arrives, struggle leaves without a fight. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "I govern myself." Bonus: when everything aligns, life listens. When everything aligns, life stops arguing with you. The Buddha observed that resistance inside creates resistance outside. Many people feel life is uncooperative, harsh, unpredictable, but rarely question the inner disorder they carry into every moment. Why does life begin responding differently after inner order is established? Because conflict no longer leads your actions. Alignment is not magic, it is coherence. When the inside is settled, the outside follows. When the mind, mouth, money, and mood move in the same direction, friction disappears. You are no longer pulling against yourself. Energy that once leaked into doubt and reaction becomes available for clear action. A tuned instrument invites harmony. When strings are aligned, sound flows without effort. When the inner life is tuned, relationships soften. Opportunities appear. Timing improves. Not because the world changed, but because you stopped sending mixed signals through behavior and emotion. Feel mind, breath, and body align. Notice the quiet ease. This ease is unfamiliar to those addicted to struggle. Calm feels suspicious at first, yet calm is not laziness, it is readiness. When urgency fades, perception sharpens. You notice openings that panic once concealed. Life responds not to force, but to steadiness. Reflect honestly. What changed when you stopped resisting yourself? When you no longer argued with emotion, negotiated with discipline, or chased validation, clarity replaced effort. Decisions became simpler. Energy returned. This is alignment in motion. The Buddha taught that harmony begins within because the outer world mirrors inner order. Calm influences outcomes by stabilizing behavior. People trust you more. Money is handled wisely. Words land gently but firmly. mood no longer distorts judgment. This is why alignment attracts cooperation. It removes noise. Here is the quiet insight few speak about. Life was never against you. It was responding to confusion. When you move clearly, life meets you clearly. When you pause, life opens space. When you listen inwardly, the outer world becomes less hostile. Practice this daily without effort. Return to alignment whenever you feel scattered. Breathe. Simplify. Choose one direction. Let go of internal tug-of-war. Each return strengthens coherence. Ask yourself softly, how does calm influence my outcomes? What resistance dissolves when I stop fighting myself? And what if life was always listening, waiting for me to speak clearly through action? Let this truth settle like evening light across still water. When you align within, life no longer needs to push back. It begins to cooperate. Quick summary of the principles. The mind that wanders leaks power. An untrained mind dissipates energy through distraction and impulsive thought. Focus is not a talent. It is a discipline built through awareness. When attention scatters, peace, productivity, and judgment weaken. Training the mind is the foundation of all self-mastery. Words spend energy you cannot recover. Every unnecessary word reduces presence and inner authority. Speech driven by emotion creates regret, conflict, and misunderstanding. Restraint in speech preserves clarity and personal power. Silence protects what impulsive talking destroys. Silence is not absence, it is containment. Silence strengthens composure and self-respect. It allows observation before reaction and intention before action. Those who speak less are often taken more seriously. Silence turns inner stability into outer influence. Emotion is a command, not a condition. Unobserved emotions quietly dictate decisions. Emotional discipline prevents temporary feelings from becoming permanent damage. Calm awareness interrupts destructive patterns. Mastering emotion restores choice and dignity. Reactivity is the loss of inner rank. Instant reactions surrender control to external events. Pausing creates space for wisdom to act. Reactivity weakens judgment and escalates conflict. Composure reclaims authority over one's life. Money mirrors the state of the mind. Financial behavior reflects emotional and mental discipline. Anxious thinking leads to reckless spending or avoidance. Clarity produces stability and long-term security. Wealth grows where calm decision-making exists. Detachment is not neglect, it is mastery. Detachment removes fear without removing responsibility. Craving clouds judgment and breeds dissatisfaction. Balance creates freedom without withdrawal from life. True control comes from not being ruled by desire. Discipline survives. When motivation dies, motivation fluctuates, discipline remains. Consistent structure eliminates inner negotiation. Self-control reduces stress and mental noise. Order in action produces peace in the mind. Presence is the loudest form of power. Attention commands respect without force. Being fully present sharpens perception and influence. Presence eliminates unnecessary explanation. Those who are grounded naturally lead. Inner command ends. Inner conflict. Self-leadership replaces confusion with direction. Decisiveness quiets mental chaos. Clear internal authority prevents self-sabotage. Inner alignment produces outer stability. Control is not force. It is clarity. Force creates resistance. Clarity dissolves it. Understanding removes the need for struggle. Seeing clearly simplifies life. True control feels calm, not tense. Control is not about domination. It is about understanding. When the mind is clear, words become deliberate, emotions become guidance, money becomes orderly, and silence becomes strength. Zen teaches that peace is not found by fixing the world, but by settling the one who looks at it. When the mind is calm, the whole world bows. Move less in reaction, speak less in impulse, think clearly, act deliberately. If this teaching resonated with you, like and share this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more Buddhist insights on living a calm, powerful, and peaceful life. Carry this question with you today. What changes when I govern myself before I try to change anything else?